Hey there, everybody. Welcome into the studios here. Kyle Curry, joined by Director of the Association of Collegiate Anglers, Wade Middleton, taking a look at the standings for the Bass Pro Shop School of the Year presented by Abu Garcia. We just started the spring semester for these college students. Roughly 4 to 5 months left before we crown a winner, a #1 team in this race at Pickwick Lake in May. Wade, provide your thoughts real quick on what the past 6 months have provided to get us to this point.
Well, it's no doubt this is the hardest title to win in college fishing, and you see a lot of emphasis placed on it. Just being in the top 25, in my opinion, is a heck of an accomplishment. And as you look at the rankings and you compare them to the preseason rankings, which was a poll that was created by media types, coaches, people that follow college fishing, there's some interesting trends that we'll dive to deeper, but this next 2 or 3 months is going to be key to see who puts that title back at their school in their trophy case.
Yeah, and it's just getting started. We had 2 big events last weekend. That's what we'll be updating here in the standings as we take a look at the top 5. We had a Bassmaster College Series event at the Harris Chain and an MLF Southern at Toledo Bend. Some schools were able to double dip and get double points across those 2 events, and some only made it to Florida. So let's take a look here now. Coming out of that tournament, Auburn University leapfrogs Montevallo from the last update. They're in first place with 9,330 points. Montevallo slides down to second, just 120 points behind Auburn. McKendree moves up 1 spot into third as Adrian College drops to 4th. Drury University at 5th. Looking at that right there, it's kind of a snapshot of what the season's been for the last 2 months or so. Jockeying between those 3 or 4 teams for 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Auburn's managed to hop over Montevallo, and they find themselves in 1st place right now.
Auburn's definitely a team to be reckoned with this year. They've placed a focus, in my opinion, on winning the School of the Year title. I think when you look early on at their planning and their early school meetings and the team that they've got, there's no question that the entire university even is behind them. But Montevallo, McKendree, Adrian, Drury, all of those teams are right there in the chase. So it's still really anybody's game.
We'll take a look more in depth here at what Auburn has done so far this season. So as it pertains to first place finishes, they've notched 3. Top 10s, they have 16. Top 20s, they have 4. They finished outside of the top 20 3 times. At the AFCO Open, they were 21st and 30th, and they have a couple more to their record there at other events across the nation. But consistency is something that we talk about across the board. So we look at how they're starting off the spring semester. At the Harris Chain, they had a top 10. That's 910 points at the Bassmaster College Series event. They turn around that next weekend and win the Southern Collegiate at Lake Martin. Though it's only for 100 points, that will go good ways towards helping their goal this season of winning the team's first ever title in the School of the Year race. Coming off of what we saw Montevallo do last season, they put together a run that, I didn't go back and look at it, but it could be almost unprecedented. Auburn is trying to do something similar now. Talk a little bit about what you're seeing in their run here so far.
Well, the most important thing that I notice is these are large teams. They've got a lot of competitive anglers on their teams. They send a lot of boats to a lot of events, and they share good information between all the competitors there. And I think that allows them to be competitive, to get teams into the top 10, have chances to win. But it also eliminates other teams. If they're in one of the events that only a single boat gets prizes, but they've got 5 boats in the top 20, they're knocking other teams out. And I think that's one of the best things about how they travel. But as I look down to 3rd, 4th, and 5th, even deeper down to 6th and 7th, those are all programs that talk about School of the Year. They talk about the focus, they talk about the importance of it, and they're very competitive out on the water, and they're not from any one particular geographical region. You look, we've got 2 Alabama teams in the top 2, then you've got an Illinois school from McKendree, you've got a Michigan team from Adrian. Adrian, in my opinion, is a great success story. Year in, year out, they come out great in the summer, they fish into the fall. You got to think about it, it's snowy up there. Their boats are winterized. It's hard for them to compete. Then you go to a Missouri team from Drury University. That's one of the biggest programs on the rise without question today. Then you drop it down to Carson Newman, Dallas Baptist. Those are 2. Dallas Baptist, they've been around for a long time. A great program with not a lot of anglers. So it's going to be a shootout, and the teams that are competitive at some of these events, that they can fish 2 events on a weekend, there's some conflicts coming up in the schedule, they're going to be the ones that are going to be in the top 10 and vie to win this.
Yeah, we're seeing a little bit of that play out now as the schedule progresses. Some schools have already fished outside of their conference in the MLF, where some of these others haven't. So there's another 800,000 or 900,000 point bonus built in that you can't see that these schools are going to gain as the season progresses. Let's take a look at Montevallo real quick as they bump down to 2 defending School of the Year champions from last year. 120 points behind first place. We'll throw up a graphic here real quick to take a look at it. We did the analysis with Auburn. We'll take a look at what Montevallo's done. They've won 5 events. They have 23 top 10s, 4 top 20s, and their worst finish of the season came at that Bassmaster event just a couple weeks ago. They've only finished outside the top 20 once. It was 2 weeks ago, that Friday, Saturday at the Harris Chain. They finished 28th. What does that say for someone that we've seen them dominate for, we could go as far back as into last season. 16 months now, pound for pound, one of the most successful collegiate bass fishing teams. They're starting off a spring semester where they're looking to go back to back, and they start with their worst finish of the season.
Montevallo's got a deep roster. That's without question, I think, one of their strengths. I said it a lot last year. I was so impressed on how they traveled well together, they practiced, they shared information. A little stumble like that can happen at any tournament coming up. We saw it at the championship last year. Montevallo backed up at the championship. McKendree tried to run, but Montevallo's dominance all year long. I really think that it's still a 7 to 8 team race. I like Montevallo's chances. As you look down the remaining events, you've got an event at Gunnersville coming up. You've got the Open at Chickamauga. That's an MLF event. They've got several chances, and I promise you, when it comes to the event coming up, the Big Bass Bash, the Mississippi event, and the championship, Montevallo's going to send a lot of anglers. Auburn's going to have to do the same, and any team that really wants to vie for this, they're going to have to be competitive.
Talking about sending a lot of anglers, we've been seeing registration come through for the Bass Pro Shops Big Bass Bash presented by Berkeley next month at Kentucky Lake. Just yesterday, 3rd place team right here at McKendree University. They've got roughly 25 guys set to come. Now, if that's across 2 anglers in boat, 3 anglers in boat, that's 8 to 10 boats for the tournament for them. They're ready, they're deep. Coach has done a good job with them. We've seen them dominate. I mean, they were one good finish away, or Montevallo stumbling a little more at the championship from going 3 in a row, and that had been the first time ever. Still have a chance to chase history and being the first team to ever win this title for 3 times. Talk a little bit about what you see in the makeup of that team.
It's hard to question how great McKendree has been as a college program the last few years. They've won the School of the Year title. They're always in the race. I mean, I love the way that program travels, also the way they fish together. And the Big Bass Bash has been one of those events that's been really key for them. Every year they seem to catch a lot of 4 and 5 pound fish that keeps them in contention in every session. We talk about how that knocks other guys out as well as earns them points. I think they're going to do very well again at the Big Bass Bash. I know Coach Rendier's got his team geared up. They're practicing. It might be cold up there now, but they will show out at the Big Bass Bash.
Another team that makes the trip down from up north, they're going to be coming out of snow, like you mentioned earlier, is Adrian College. So for them, they led for a good while. That's kind of been a story for the last couple of years. You make it into around that Thanksgiving time frame as stuff starts to shut down for the fall. They've had a good lead, and you can just watch it for weeks as it just kind of gets chiseled away, chiseled away, chiseled away. They fall into 4th. Probably didn't have the finish that they were hoping for at the Bassmaster College event just a few weeks ago. They only earned 570 points. They're not out of it, though. You have to give them credit for the work that they've put together on the front end. Though they haven't had the finishes they'd have liked over the last 2 to 3 months in the race, they're 1,400 points back, 1 double points event from being right back there in contention. Can they make a good run at it and keep this momentum, maybe restart their season a little bit here in the spring?
Absolutely. Adrian is without question the premier far northern school when it comes to college bass fishing. They've got a great program, a lot of kids. Their university supports them really well. But you have to think, once again, they winterize those boats for 3 or 4 months. They're looking through ice, drilling holes. That's not what a lot of the rest of the competitors do. But every year, come Big Bass Bash time, they thaw those boats out, they show up in mass. A lot of times they fish 3 to a boat to maximize which is the rare thing you can do at that. They maximize their time on the water. And I've followed some of the the Adrian kids on the water the last couple of years out there. They understand cold water fishing, which could easily happen at Kentucky Lake.
Something that's cool about the Big Bass Bash that we like, and it's one of the reasons we structure the tournament the way that we do, is it gives anglers, schools like Adrian have done it for years. You send your veteran guys, they're the 2 guys up front, and there's a guy, green collar kid in the back. He's a freshman, he's a sophomore, he hasn't gotten out and traveled the country. So you get to that tournament, you get to get those guys out on the water and take advantage of that. Drury University is another one. They've brought in a lot of freshmen and sophomores. They have some young underclassmen, but there's upperclassmen like Cole Breeden and some of the others. They've won events on our trail. They've won national tournaments at other levels. They find themselves in the 5th spot. They have 7,615 points, 1,700 points or so out of 1st place. They're a team that's growing, they're building each year. It seems like we kind of saw them for the first time 3 or 4 years ago, and they start to make noise. They build up momentum, and each year it continues to grow and grow and grow. They've remained in that 5th spot for a long time now this season. What do you see in them, and can they make a bigger push up to threaten for that first place title when the season is done?
To touch on it a little bit in your earlier comments, the Big Bass Bash is a great event to be able to send freshmen. There's no limit to how many teams and anglers that, the limit's just how many boats you can put on the water at the Big Bass Bash. And some of these schools really benefit from that by having a lot of competitors. And Drury is a school that is growing its collegiate program there. You see them signing new anglers all the time. Coach Rick Emmett understands the fishing industry. He's got some ties there. It's definitely a program on the rise. However, they are a little bit limited by the number of boats that they can send because they're just really growing that program. So that may hurt them a little bit as the season goes on. I look for them to compete well at the Big Bass Bash. If they can get a couple of guys in the top 20, man, it's going to bump them up really in a good race. And then they've got some events coming up as you look down the schedule that kind of favor them. They've got a MLF event still at Table Rock coming up. Bassmaster is going to be at Norfolk coming up. That's close to a home game for them. And if they can figure out a way to travel to the Mississippi event that we've got double points and get some competitors to do well there and compete well with these other ones, they could be the sneaky team down in the standings that shakes things up pretty easy. They've got some quality anglers.
Talking about doubling up on events, when we come back after this quick break, we'll look at two teams from Texas that took advantage of the opportunities that were available to them just a few weeks ago, making the trip to Florida and going down to Toledo Bend in Louisiana. One of the biggest movers inside of these standings. We'll talk about them after the break.
When there's miles of water in front of you and hundreds of feet below, you need a boat with the chops to dominate, no matter the conditions. With the strength and technology to overcome the elements and the competition. Ranger Boats, still building legends, one at a time.
Want to know the difference between power bait and other soft plastics? Ask the fish. Berkeley scientists have. Thousands of flavors tested on thousands of fish. Natural, man-made. Every bait that's ever hit the water. And no matter the shape, size, or color, power bait is the only one that is scientifically proven. Fish bite and will not let go.
Welcome back. I'm host Kyle Curry, joined by Wade Middleton, Director of the Association of Collegiate Anglers, as we continue to take a look at the top 25 in the Bass Pro Shop School of the Year presented by Abu Garcia. If you're looking to find the complete standings, they're updated on our website right now, collegiatebasschampionship.com. Wade, we just finished talking about the top 5 in that previous segment, handing a little bit to what is down further in the standings, and we'll look at that now. 6 through 10. Take a few notes here and we'll get your thoughts on it. Carson Newman, of the teams ranked in the top 10 going into that Bassmaster College event in Florida, they were the highest finishing team. They finished 9th, got 920 points. Hayden Gaddis and Ben Coley with that finish for them. Dallas Baptist and East Texas Baptist, as we were talking about going to break, two teams that made the trip to Texas and Florida that weekend to take advantage of those two events on the schedule. Dallas Baptist moved up 3 spots into 7th. East Texas Baptist, in this update right here, earned the most points of any team in the standings, period. They made both trips. They earned 940 points in Florida, 920 at the MLF at Toledo Bend. They were previously 17th, and they jump up to 9th. What jumps out at you 6 through 10 here in the standings?
Carson Newman, another great program on the rise. I like where they're going. They've got a growing program there. I think also what you're seeing there on these East Texas teams, they're fishing a lot more and the weather's better. Heading over to Florida was not a challenge for them. They did well. East Texas Baptist last year, they made a run around this time of the year. Maybe that's a team full of really good pre-spawn anglers and spawners, because that was kind of what was happening over in Florida. So, I'm not surprised that you're seeing some of these shakeups. That's going to happen in a race like this right now. But as we get into really, in my opinion, that March-April window, the cream's going to rise to the top.
And right through there at the end of February going into our event in March, I think there's like 5,000 or 1,500 point events in just a matter of about 20 days. Multiple MLF regionals, our event's going to take place. So what we are seeing here, these teams being able to stack events on top of each other and make big chunks of ground up for those schools with events in their region. We're going to see some more of that. Moving a little further down, there's some cases here where you're seeing teams move up, which is good for them, and we're seeing others that maybe you're a little bit of a surprise to find them where they're at in the standings. Murray State, normally we see them in the top 5, they're 11th right now. Emmanuel College, they've had a good run. They're standing right there at 13th. There's multiple School of the Year winners, multiple ACA national champions in that group. Kind of hit on a few things that stick out to you of that group 11 through 25 right now.
I know Murray has a focus of winning the School of the Year program. They've had that focus for a long time. That's one of the best angler-run clubs that you're going to find. They don't get a lot of support from their university or from their advisors, so they kind of do it all among themselves. I still look for Murray to make a run and a rise. You know, you've got the Big Bass Bash on Kentucky Lake. That's close to a home game that you're going to see. And you've got another event down in Gunnersville. And they're going to travel well to the Bassmaster and MLF event, so they're going to compete well there. UNA, past national champions, past School of the Year winners, they know how to catch fish there. They've got some home games coming up. So as the season goes deeper, I expect them to continue to climb. Blue Mountain is another one. Great program. They do a good job supporting their anglers. I expect them to continue to climb. They've got some events kind of in their home area. They also travel well. You know, Bethel was not picked to do well this year. If you look at the preseason, you know, stuff, they started out early at 6 and they've continued to fall as the season has gone on. But, you know, Coach Mason's got some home games coming up. It'll be interesting to see what his guys can put together on the second half of the season. He's had a lot of great anglers that have graduated. That's a tough thing to be able to replace those guys, but it'll be interesting to see what his next level of anglers come up. So we're going to see some shakeups, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and these group 11 through 25, as I look at them and knowing what happened at the other events, there's multiple teams in here. Wabash, Bethel, there's these schools that they had really good weekends in Florida. They just got to continue to build upon that momentum and find those opportunities to go out and earn events, because taking a look at it, 11th through 18th, separated by just over 1,000 points. I mean, that's one event or less than one event if you make it to an ACA tournament. And so the ground that can be made up is huge here. And really no one's out of it at this point in the School of the Year race. With 5 months left, everyone's got a chance to go out and earn valuable points. Anything else you want to talk about, hit on as we look at maybe what's ahead on the schedule, what the opportunities that lie ahead for these anglers to go out and earn points, any specific topic you want to talk about?
You know, as I put my final thoughts to this season's race for the Bass Pro Shop School of the Year, I think you got to be in the top 10 starting that first week of March to have a legitimate chance. There's a lot of points earning events out there. Obviously, anything's possible. But these teams that are in the top 10, they've got some studs. They got some hammers. They got some big school teams that travel well, and they focused on winning this all year long. So I think that's my final thought. It's going to be an exciting spring. There's going to be a lot of fish caught, and I'm pretty anxious to see who pulls this out.
Yeah, just 1 month into the spring semester, 4 months remaining in the race for the 2021-22 Bass Pro Shop School of the Year presented by Abu Garcia. Great race it's going to be. A lot of points earning opportunities out there. To find the full standings that we just broke down, go to collegiatebasschampionship.com. While you're over there, go to the Register tab. The registration's open for all 3 of our events this spring. You can go ahead and get signed up for those. No entry fee tournaments, no limit to the field. Get over there, get signed up, and earn these double points that are available to you at those. Also, any other opportunities to earn points for the School of the Year race, go to the School of the Year tab. Everything's updated, ready to go for what's ahead this spring. We're looking forward to it. While you're here watching this video, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Leave us a comment below. Let us know what you think, who you're rooting for this season. Signing off for the Bass Pro Shop's Collegiate Bass Fishing Series, this is Kyle Curry along with Wade Middleton. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you at the next stop there at Kentucky Lake.